Hey, I'm Rin. Welcome to my channel. So we'll be designing Firefly today. My girl needs her own video. She deserves it after all. Firefly, my first Honkai Star Rail main that I truly enjoyed playing. We don't talk about my Yangqing era, okay? Anyway, what can be said about her? The kind and gentle soul, the character that gets shipped with a trailblazer over and over again. My girl, the first Honkai Star Rail limited character I had ever pulled. She's my favorite girl, and she might always be that to me. Heck, we share a lot in common with one another, and maybe that's why I wanted to capture her in this video. I might not get everything right here when it comes to her, but I want to do it the right way. It's probably my biases talking, but let's ignore that part, shall we? Here is what I have for her. I hope you guys like it. So for races, I went with Warforged for her. It's mainly because the backstory behind the Warforged race caught my attention by sounding very similar to Fireflies. Warforged were created to fight in the Last War, a race of automaton that were created to become soldiers for the war efforts. Something very similar to what we know about Firefly and the Glamoth Iron Cavalry. Warforged have a +2 to their constitution and a +1 to any other ability of your choosing. I personally added it to her strength because of the class I gave her. She also gets an additional +1 to her armor class because of being a robot. However, donning armor will take much longer than for what other characters would take. Warforged are very resilient beings, they have advantages against being poisoned, they don't need to eat, sleep or breathe, and they are immune to diseases. They can rest, however, becoming inactive for the night. It's a little addition like how elves don't technically sleep either. Moving further along from that, let's move on to her class now. I was going to go with fighter at first, but a friend of mine mentioned something very interesting for her. Why not make her a paladin? Someone sworn to protect others, who wears heavy armor and is for the good of the world. And I thought about it, what the Iron Cavalry stood for before, how we could add to her character. Of course, I couldn't make her an Oathbreaker because the build doesn't fit her really well, and with how Firefly operates on the battlefield, it would make her very different from what we know about her. So then I decided to pivot to something else. Oath of the Crown Paladin. Those who stand for law, loyalty, courage, responsibility. Yes, that's the build I'm going for her. I don't know how this is going to work, but we'll have to make it work. I promise. I gave her blind fighting to allow her to see enemies even in complete darkness or invisible, though some may be able to hide from you if they are covered or roll a successful check. With Oath of the Crown, you also get a channel divinity ability that allows you to either challenge an enemy to battle, causing them to be unable to move 30 feet away from you, or you can heal your allies by bolstering them with an epic speech. Honestly, it doesn't have to be a speech, you can also just scream, "Set the seas ablaze!" Whatever you choose. Besides that, you also get the ability at level 7 to substitute the health of others with your own. I kind of see this as similar to how Firefly's health goes down when you're using her skill. You could see it as a D&D equivalent of that. Other than that, your ability scores should be that your highest is your strength, and then dexterity, then constitution, wisdom, charisma, and then intelligence will be last. Mainly because it's not really needed for a paladin character. You guys have to trust me on this one. For background, I went with soldier. Kind of a no-brainer for that one. It makes sense with the story that we know about her. She was a soldier of the Iron Cavalry, and only left after the planet was destroyed during the Swarm disaster. For feats, I went with resilient, since it made sense for her as a character who's determined to defy her fate. I gave her resilience in strength, which also gives her proficiency in strength saving throws as well. For languages, I went with Sylvan for a similar reasoning to why I gave the same one for Kafka. If we see Elio as a patron for the Stellaron Hunters, it would make sense for the characters to learn the Sylvan language to communicate with them in secret. For proficiencies, I gave her survival because she's a survivor. I don't think anyone can deny the fact that that's what she is. I also gave her insight and persuasion, as a small nod to her role in Penacony and her care for the Trailblazer. Additionally, I gave her proficiency in the 3 Dragon Ant game to kind of make a reference to the other 3 Stellaron Hunters. I don't actually know what the game is, I just saw 3 and went with it. I also gave her proficiency in jeweler tools to add to her more girly side. I think it would be kinda cute to give her the ability to make her own jewelry. As for magic, paladins do come with their own set of spells to choose from, and here are the ones that I picked out. There are some that come with the oath you pick, but since I don't think any of them really suit Firefly, I won't name them. They are there though, and can come in really handy when playing the game. They just don't suit Firefly completely. For the ones I picked out, we have Cauterizing Flame. I'm having flashbacks to her boss battle with this one. This feels unfair, but it's literally the spell. Next up is Searing Smite, which you could see as her activating her ultimate, her pulling out her swords and attacking the enemies with it. Finally, we have Sky Strike, which I see as her regular skill, or even her ultimate skill as well, whisking through the air and pummeling your enemies into the ground. I think it works well with her. Anyway though, for her equipment, I added plate armor to her list, as well as 2 short swords. These are just my recommendations to allow you to play Firefly in-game the most accurate way. I don't know what's allowed in your games or what's not allowed, so I'm not going to cause any trouble with those issues. Choose whatever works for you and your game, and what you think your DM will allow. Meanwhile, I'll continue on with this video. Here's what I have for her backstory. As like most of my videos, I try to stick as closely to the original story as possible, but I might need to change a few things to make it fitting for a D&D setting. And for Firefly's story, I needed to change quite a bit to make it that she doesn't end up being an oath breaker. I'm trying my best, okay? Anyway, here's what I have. Brave soldier, lift your head in the name of Her Majesty. She looked upwards towards the dark sky. She couldn't see a reason in continuing onwards. All of her allies, her comrades, their bodies were strewn across the battlefield as the enemies seized the kingdom. She could feel her body grow rigid as she stared onward towards the grey horizon. She was alone. Everyone. They were all gone, and she wouldn't be able to reach their queen in time. She remembered seeing the form move towards her, the war mother of the enemy's army, the dead gaze in her eyes as she looked towards the automaton laying amongst her comrades. The little machine rose to her feet and held her gaze towards the flesh and bones. She knew what she needed to do, and there was not a single moment of hesitation in her gaze. She flung herself forward, and the war mother gritted her teeth. Before the woman knew what was happening, she was immediately engulfed in a blinding burst of light, and like a firefly in the night sky, the little machine found herself falling downwards off the edge of a cliff. At least she took the enemy's leader out. At least she did that for Her Majesty, wherever she may be. Dead. Alive. She didn't know. She could feel herself slipping out of consciousness, her wires irreparably damaged, and her body growing far too heavy for her to carry on. When she awoke again, she found herself tied down within an underground facility with a woman sitting nearby to her. She didn't recognize her. "Do you have dreams, little Warforged? You were tossing quite a bit there. We had to tie you down or you'd injure someone." The woman smiled at her. Dream? No, she did not believe she had the capacity to do such a thing. "Where am I? Who are you?" She asked her, only to earn a strange gaze from her. "We found your body at the edge of a battlefield, a ruined machine from a broken kingdom. So we did fall. The queen, her subjects. Do not worry yourself with those thoughts. It was a predetermined fate. She and her iron cavalry were never meant to win against them." She hated how nonchalant her words were, but she knew there was nothing more she could say to that woman. Pushing past the strange person, she made her way up out of the facility. towards the morning light rising across the sky. This was not a fate she was going to willingly accept. If that woman truly believes it to be a predetermined fate, then she will find a way to defy it. Like a firefly amongst flames, she will rise amongst them again. For that is what she was made for, to see the life amongst the sea of flames. A very different take in the story of Firefly, but it needed to be done for an Oath of the Crown Paladin. I'm not really sure if this was the right move or not, but I actually like this build. Though it needed to be changed quite a bit to make it work, it somehow works. I guess what I'm trying to say is thank you for watching, and I really hope this build is not too iffy for you guys to like. I also added some additional context in the description about leveling in D&D games, so I hope you guys give it a quick squiz. It's just an explanation about the differences between actual D&D and the builds I'm making here. I'll add more context for multi-class characters in the future, so you guys know what to do for yourselves. Either way though, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you like, and I hope to see you all next time. Take care!